Hello and welcome all to the second Libre AI Pulse webinar. My name is Andy Corrigan. I'm a digital library coordinator at the University of Cambridge Libraries and Archives, and I co-chair the Libre Digital Scholarship and Digital Cultural Heritage Working Group, along with Jodie from the University of Leeds Libraries, who we'll be hearing from shortly. Before we begin, just a few practical points. Please keep yourselves muted during the webinar, and it is being recorded, so you'll be able to watch it again afterwards. So please switch off your cameras if you don't want to be in the recording. But we'd like to encourage you all to use the chat throughout the session to interact. It would be great to hear where you're tuning in from today as well. So please do pop that in the chat. Okay. We're excited to be your hosts, not only to share a few of the challenges our working group members have been facing, which I'm sure will be familiar to many of you, but it's also fantastic to be able to share some of the work that's actually going on to tackle some of these. Whilst many might think of libraries as being part of cultural heritage that's stuck in the past, it's invigorating for me to be part of such a responsive community that knows it can rise to the challenge of remaining ever relevant. As we all know, the challenges that AI poses to libraries are broad and complex. There are what can feel like personal daily battles with ever-shifting big tech, such as how we handle bots in virtual teaching sessions without prejudicing genuinely helpful use cases and inclusion, and the limitations of being institutionally tied to specific software. Then there are the larger scale challenges like aligning interoperability with shared infrastructures, systems, and approaches without creating new silos. Where do we focus our efforts? There are so many to choose from. The European Open Science Cloud, the European Collaborative Cloud for Cultural Heritage, of course, Darren and Claria, or Europeana's new Common European Data Space for Cultural Heritage. And there are, of course, inherent environmental and sustainability concerns to tackle alongside the technical and ethical. But it's also important not to forget our own role in this shifting digital landscape. Where is our place in all of this? Where does the humanity belong? How do we empower librarians in this uncertain world? That's a great point for me to invite you all to join us for our adventurous workshop, Generative Humans, that will be taking place at Libre 2026 in Trondheim. The focus of this will be experiencing ways we can mediate automation through engagement with cultural collections in our physical surroundings as we take to the streets of Trondheim to embrace the value of agility and experimentation. We're now going to hear from some colleagues about some of the activities and initiatives that the DSDCH working group has been involved in. We're going to hear about the recent AI for LAM event, Fantastic Futures 2025, AI Everywhere All at Once from Mia Ridge at the British Library. We're going to get an overview and demonstration of ARCH, the AI for Cultural Heritage Hub here at the University of Cambridge, from project lead Amelie Roper and lead software developer Jennie Fletcher. And we'll hear from Jodie at the University of Leeds Libraries and our other working group co-chair about the wonderful DS topic guides and how they are helping to upskill our library workforce. So without further ado, let me introduce and pass you over to Mia.
Thanks, Andy. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of the Fantastic Futures Conference. I think if you wouldn't mind going back, thank you. The AI for Land community has been holding this conference for a number of years, but what we discovered this year was that, or last year, a huge amount of interest in AI, where everyone now realizes that they have to pay attention to AI, whether they're interested in it or not. It's affecting their work. It's affecting their relationship with readers, with students, with researchers. So we had an incredible number of proposals, and we worked really, really hard to fit as many as we could in. We could have run the conference for a couple of extra days with the number of high quality proposals that we had, and a number to fit more overall talks in. We put a number down into shorter formats. So we had a lot of lightning talks, a lot of short talks where they might have been panels or longer papers previously. The conference itself sold out for in-person attendance in 2 days. And again, that kind of speaks to the interest that people have. We had two fabulous keynotes, Rachel Caldecott and Dorothy Berry. Rachel works in the kind of research and policy sphere, and Dorothy Berry is a digital curator. Next slide, please, Andy. So we as a program committee, set up some themes, and I've ordered them by the themes that the most number of papers responded to. So building AI systems for and with staff and users was the theme that people nominated most for their proposals, and then ethical and responsible AI was a kind of close second. So you can see the themes that we've put there. And interestingly, cybersecurity and resilience was kind of quite low, even though the conference was hosted at the British Library, which is notorious for having had a ransomware attack in 2023. Next slide, please, Andy. So from those themes, what I found were the kind of the themes that came through most in the conference. A lot of papers talked about responsible, ethical, and human-centered AI. And obviously that's partly because we put that as one of the themes for our reviews, but it's also a response to where people are thinking about AI in their libraries, archives, and museums. And a kind of key idea was that it's okay to go slow. We don't have to race to do things. We can take our time. And what I always think is that any technology project is a change project as well. So going with people rather than racing ahead. And then building and evaluating tools with and for staff. So lots of talks about planning automation rather than thinking about AI as a kind of hype, but thinking about it as planning forms of automation, thinking about what it is that you're measuring when you're measuring the success of a project and how you're thinking about quality and results. And then an acknowledgement that going from a pilot idea to production is hard. Scaling those ideas up is hard. There were lots of discussions about AI literacy, about ways that we can encourage people to think more meaningfully about what AI means. And there's a site, a French site that people loved, Compare AI, which lets you try the same query with two different tools and look at how they perform. You can also look at the carbon footprint. And that was a kind of surprising hit of the conference. Also, this idea that we can learn from others. If you come to the point of thinking we do want to do AI, reach out to the community. Also, the idea that we don't need to follow big technology. We don't need to, we can have our own paradigms that tie into our library values. And I think the last two themes really speak to the ways in which libraries are negotiating rights, copyright, the politics of training data, bias, and also how we relate those to our institutional values in the sense that transparency and retaining trust underpin everything that we do. And there was a kind of meta theme in terms of AI for LAM used to be quite small as a community. Lots of researchers, lots of people trying out things in their organizations and doing everything the hard way. But as the community matures, there's masses more interest. How do we work together with the community to kind of meet their needs? And I think when we look at the DS topic guides, that's one of the answers that we can do. Next slide, please, Andy. So you can find out more. I've put links in the chat as well. And then next slide, please. Right. So just if you want to get involved, the next conference is in the US. It's going to be very, very much a hybrid conference. They know that not everyone wants to go to the US right now. Not everyone can go to the US right now. The themes are up on the slide. The call for proposals closes on Easter Monday. You can look at the topics and I'll put the link in the chat as well for the call for proposals. It should be a really rich conversation. And as I said, very, very hybrid. So we'd love to see you taking part in that. Thank you, Andy.
Great, thank you, Mia. And now over to Amelie Roper.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. So my name is Amelie. I work at the University of Cambridge Libraries and Archives, and I'm here with my colleague, Jennie Fletcher, to introduce you to the AI for Cultural Heritage Hub project, known as ARCH for short. Next slide, please, Andy. So ARCH is a 14-month research project, a proof of concept project. It's coming to an end this month, 31st of March. And we were lucky enough to secure funding from a body called AI at CAM. So that's the part of the University of Cambridge that kind of coordinates and leads activities relating to AI. And they had in turn received funding from Schmidt Sciences that they have used to support various projects. They had a call on cultural heritage for projects specifically relating to cultural heritage uses of AI on cultural heritage, and that's the one that we responded to. So a really important part of the Arch project is that it's led from the University of Cambridge Libraries and Archives, or Cambridge University Library, as it says on the slide. So Jennie and me and a third colleague have been leading the project. But one really important aspect of it is that it's a collaboration with other parts of the university, and in fact with other institutions as well. So in particular, we've collaborated with the maths department, who have helped us to tailor some algorithms and create some specific tools alongside the hub itself, which Jennie will demo later. And you can see some of us on the slide there, but there's a total of about 16 of us working on the project. Next slide, please, Andy. So in the project, we're aiming to create a workspace, the hub, which you'll see from Jennie in a moment, and a community of practice to support each other in the use of AI on cultural heritage collections. And our target users are what we've called non-technical users, by which we mean library staff, museum staff, and also academics working with collections. And importantly, what we wanted to do was to create a secure environment where people could experiment with cultural heritage, experiment in using AI on cultural heritage data, so images of items from collections and metadata about them. Next slide, please, Andy. So we have framed our project around 3 challenges: inaccessible data, reassembling or reuniting fragmentary collections and fragmentary objects within collections, and a cross-cutting theme, which is making sure that the human stays in that process. So how can we, in practice, integrate expert knowledge into the results of the AI, so be that from cultural heritage practitioners, so librarians, archivists, etc., or for academics. And we built the hub and kind of designed our project around 6 case studies, all based on collections from across the University of Cambridge. So some museum collections, some library collections, and collections from the Botanic Garden as well. Next slide, Andy. We're no longer, because the project's winding down, and we're no longer creating more accounts for the hub that you will see in a moment from Jennie. But I warmly encourage you to join our mailing list, because we very much hope that the project's not going to end at the end of March. There may be opportunities to collaborate and to test the tools that we've been building in the future. And you can find out, see the link for that on the slide. Next slide, please, Andy. And with that, I'll pass you over to Jennie, who will show you what the hub does.
Thanks, Amelie. So I'll stop sharing there and I'll let Jennie share her screen.
Okay, thanks, Amelie. I'll just share my screen. Give me a second. Hopefully you can see that. So this is the hub that Amelie described around trying to bring together a selection of different AI tools in one place to allow non-technical users to try them out with their own data in a safe environment where their data won't be used for training any commercial models. So this is the hub itself, and it allows individual users to have an area to upload their files to, which isn't shared with anyone. And we provide a number of different tools. We have chosen these tools mainly because they are quite easy to wire up and to kind of learn about what this type of environment might look like and how useful it might be to different professions. But we've also wanted to include an area to gather together some information that people have people using the hub, using different AI tools, obviously have developed some expertise in how different use cases work for different data and what works and what doesn't work. So we wanted to try and bring together some of that expertise as well. So I'll show you some of the tools. We've got a number of single file tools, which are just tools which allow you to quickly upload a file and see how it behaves with some of your data. We've got a section for utilities, which allows, we found people using the hub didn't always bring data in a format that the AI could understand. So we needed to have some conversion tools, including things like AAAF importer to allow you to pull in images from AAAF resources quickly. And we've got the batch processing tool, which was one that we used for most of our use cases, including one for catalogue cards. So I'll go through that if we've got time. But I'll start with the identifying labels, because it involves pretty images. And so this tool allows you to select an image from your collection and try using something called Amazon recognition to assign labels to that object to try and identify it, to enrich metadata, etc. So this is one of our pictures from our Darwin collection on our digital library, which I love. Cats are great. So this one it does quite well with. You can see it's got art, drawing, animal, cat, and it's also has a confidence as to how sure it is it's an animal or a cat associated with each different label. So that might be good for automatically enriching things, but it doesn't always do so well. So I always do the counter example with, this is another of our images from a digital library, one of our Spanish collections. And it's also a cat, but slightly more stylized. So it does art, animal, mammal, wildlife, zebra. So it's pretty confident it's a zebra. That gives you the bounding box information, but it also gives you a confidence rating. I think that's to do with the stripes on the image. It's quite interesting to see how AI interprets different things differently than people do. But it does eventually get to cat. But it's interesting to try that kind of tool out with your data. We've also got various other tools for identifying sentiment, people, places, extracting text, that's a big thing, and a couple of other ones. But I will quickly get into our batch processing section, and this allows you to interact directly with an AI using a prompt, so you can customize what you actually want to get from it. And we're using few different models that you can select between and see how it works on your data. We're doing that with some catalogue cards in this example. So I've pulled out some different catalogue cards and described what it is, said what table we want to put it in a tabular format, pull out author, class mark, publication, etc. And it will process those cards. I will very quickly show you what the cards look like. These are some printed cards here from our secondary legal deposit, and this is what it looked like when it's processed. I won't, because I've got only 5 minutes. This is the results from what it looks like. So it will then tabulate it, and then that's good for kind of human review, and you can feed it back in and you can refine it from there. But it allows you to kind of play with your data with AI, with different use cases, and try out different AI tools in a friendly environment which is secure. So I'll stop there.
Great, thanks, Jenny. Sorry, my internet just cut out a little minute there, so hopefully you can see me. And I will continue on with the presentation. And next up, I would like to introduce Jodie Double from Leeds University Libraries, who's going to talk to us about the topic guides that we've been producing with the data science.
Yeah, so for people who don't know about the topic guides, this is an introduction. And for those who have been using it for a while, it's a reintroduction. So the topic guides were created with the Digital Scholarship and Data Science working groups, and they launched last year at the Libre conference, but were many years in the making. So there are currently 20 topic guides that are created, and it is very much a community-driven resource. So there is an editathon coming up on the 23rd of April, as you can see on the slide. Everyone is welcome to contribute. And what we're interested in is if people are using the guides and where there's areas that we need to expand and looking for future contribution. The main thing is it's community driven. The reason behind the creation of the guides was we realized that many of us were writing our own guides internally, and it made a lot of sense to join our work up together. So reiterating that it's community driven, we need to know what people need. We also know that it changes over time. As a contributor, you get a DOI, so that's a bit of a carrot for people to contribute to, and it is quite fun. So if you have an idea that you want to contribute, you may not have the time and resource, but we still need to know what people want. If you need someone to work with, we can act as a broker and partner up people and say, oh, you have this idea, this other person, you might want to work with them. You're also paired with an editor. And Nora's contact details are on this slide too, and I'll also put it in the chat. So she's the one that's the chief editor for this too. So she's the main contact for the topic guides. But we would really, really like to know if people are finding these useful and where there's gaps in there. And it is a resource for everyone. So it's written for librarians to use in libraries and to act as a way for us to scale up a workforce. So that's all I have to say on that one. And I believe there's a next slide. So if you are using it and there's other topics that you want to have added to the topic guides, please add them in chat or get in contact with Nora. And I'll find the link for the editathon. So good question.
Great, thanks, Jodie. And oh, sorry, my internet's going. Okay. And finally, I'm going to pass the baton over to Rashmi, who's going to advertise the next webinar in this series that's on the 24th of April. Rashmi.
Yeah, thank you, Andy, and all the speakers on the back of these very inspiring different tools and initiatives. It's my pleasure to invite you for the next webinar on behalf of two LIBO working groups, the Open Access Working Group and the Research Data Management Working Group. The next webinar will be on the topic of repositories under AI. Is it a threat or an opportunity? As most of you, I'm sure, are aware and are grappling with yourself, fundamentally how the role of repositories are being reshaped with the advent of AI. Many risks are present: data scraping by bots, overloading institutional repositories, synthetic data deposits, and we've also seen more downstream effects on public repositories like Wikipedia having less engagement as well as less editors in recent times due to AI. But as they say, never waste a good crisis. For some repositories, it has also perhaps hailed some opportunities. In our next webinar, we'll hear two flash talks from two repository cases that have walked this tightrope of threats and opportunities, and we will learn what they've made out of them and what we can possibly take away. So yeah, without much ado, we invite you to join this next session on the 24th of April. Link is on the screen, but also will be shared in the chat. I hope to see you, many of you there. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ashmi. So thank you all for joining us for that whistle-stop tour of the DSDCH working group's AI long and winding road. It's been a journey. Have seen some great projects there, so it's great to see. If you'd like to get in touch and get involved with any of the DSDCH working group, you can contact either myself or Jodie Double. And I've put a bit.ly link to our working group webpage on the Libre site up on the screen. Our working group does need to update our working group pages, so it's a great time to come and join us. We've got some great new members who have just started interacting with the group as well, so it's a really active time to be thinking about some of these issues and how we're tackling them. So without further ado, I think we're coming up to time, so thank you very much for joining us. Please do feel free to just any other thoughts down in the chat, and yeah, get in touch. Let's keep the conversations going. These webinars have been great so far. I'm looking forward to the next one.